other end to just say from which department they're coming and representing who. Karibu. From which department they're coming.
I'm from the State Department for Wildlife. I'm representing the PS Wildlife. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Patrick Meso, representing the PS State Department for Forestry.
Good morning. My name is Yatik Kipkemei, representing the PS Irrigation.
And we have the convener. Now, amongst the crowd, I think we have officers from the various state departments, and I would like each, let's say, when I mention the State Department, we can we just rise and salute to the members. I'll start with the State Department for Environment. State Department for Environment, muko wapi? Okay, ndio wale pale, asanteni. Then the State Department for, I think, Forestry. Aha, ndio wao. And then we come to State Department for Water and Sanitation, my department. Where is everybody else? Only one, there is a CFO. Amasioni. Okay. Then State Department for Irrigation. Okay, thank you. A big crowd there. Karibuni, asante. Welcome. And then State Department for Mining. I think from the chairs.
The chair is there.
Ah, good. Mimi leo nimeangushwa. So thank you so much. I think with that, we want to recognize all of you with no particular, and we just want to invite all of you, the members of the public, for joining us. And we invite your very candid conversations and input into making the plans that we have as a ministry, as a sector, beneficial and leading to the transformation. That the programs that we have ahead of us are going to respond to the needs of all of us. So today, really, I don't want to take much. The chair will take us through and the plans that we have for the sector. And so with those many remarks, I want now to invite our sector chair to take us through the report for the sector. Thank you. Karibu sir.
Thank you very much, Session Chair. Thank you, the officers representing our colleagues. And I want to take this opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to greet you. Good morning. I'll introduce myself again. My name is Harry Kimtai. I'm the Principal Secretary, State Department for Mining. And in this function today, I am the chairperson of the sector. And as mentioned by my colleague, I think we have all participated in the budget making process. And today we are here to make our submissions for the sector hearing to the public so that they're able to look at our performance. And therefore I'll urge the person who is sharing the presentation on the screen to do so that I start my presentation, because we have got another team that will be coming after us. So I think I've done with introduction. That's my name mentioned there. Let's go to the outline of my presentation today. I'll look at the introduction, and then I'll take you through the program performance review for 2022-2023, and then 2024-2025. Thereafter, I'll also take you through the medium-term priorities and financial plan for the MTEF period 2026-2027, and all the way to 2029. We'll also be able to look at the cross-sector linkages, specifically on emerging issues and the challenges that we are facing, and then I'll do the conclusion and recommendation. So by way of introduction, so let's give our team, the young ones, to the Gen Zs to settle, because I think we have learned to incorporate them from early age so that they become part of our conversation. So as a way of introduction, let me just look at the sector vision. Our vision is sustainable development in a clean and secure environment. Our sector mission is to promote sustainable utilization and management of environment and natural resources for socio-economic development. I'll look at the strategic objectives of the sector. I'll just take you through. One is to increase the area under irrigation for food security and economic growth, facilitate universal access to adequate, safe, and sustainable managed water and sanitation resources for socio-economic development, generate and manage geodata and mineral resources for socio-economic development, enhance wildlife conservation and management for sustainable development, conserve, protect, and manage the environment for sustainable socio-economic development, and enhance forest development, management, and conservation for sustainability and posterity. Our sector performance for the year 2022-2023, all the way to 2025, I'll do it in a summary manner, and I'll look at it in terms of the approved budget for all the way from 2022 to 2025, and the actual expenditure. Under the recurrent, we have 26, in 2022-2023, we have 26,595,000 that was approved. And what was the actual expenditure in the year 2024-25 is 34,181,058. That is our, in terms of our recurrent expenditure. Then on development, I'll just mention the year 2022-2023, it was 68,469,010, and then the actual expenditure for the year 2024-2025 is 45,915 million. And you look at the total, and I want to go to the absorption rate, just for the purpose of this meeting, is at 2024-2025, we are in 95% absorption, but in the year 2023-2024, we closed our absorption at 83%. And that shows, if you see the trend, it is increasing. So we hope that by the time we finish the financial year, we'll still be at 95%, and that will be very good performance of the sector if we continue at this rate. The review for program performance, and I'll go to subsector. I'll start with the irrigation subsector. Basically, they will develop additional 108,210 acres put under irrigation in the various community managed and smallholder irrigation projects. This is what they are undertaking. Support production of 320,000 tons of paddy rice valued at Kenya shillings 64 billion. Increase irrigation water storage capacity by an additional 42 million cubic meters to irrigate 28,000 acres of land. Progress the construction works at Galana Gulalu Food Security Project to 99% completion rate. The project onbound on a private party to drive large-scale maize production. They will also rehabilitate 880 hectares of degraded lands across the country. They will equip additional 20 public schools with the micro-irrigation systems, including the boreholes, greenhouses, and raised water tanks for horticulture and fruit seedlings production. Water and sanitation subsector, they will operationalize bulk water supply at the Karimenu 2 system, the capacity of which is 70,000 metric tons per day, and Northern Corridor collector water diversion tunnel, capacity of which is 140,000 metric tons per day. They will also do 23 towns and 120 schools connected with water. They will be able to complete the Yamu Dam in Samburu County that will be able to produce 1.3 metric tons, 1.2 million metric tons. And then they will also be able to complete the Twake Dam which they want to progress to 94% completion. They will do 135 small dams and ponds where construction across the countries providing over 2.7 million cubic meters of water storage. They will also do 13 towns under the Kenya towns to be connected to the sewer services. They are going to construct 150 low-cost safe pit latrines and human waste cycling plants. They are going to rehabilitate 54 river gauging stations and upgrading 10 manual stations to telemetry for real-time monitoring of water levels. They will finalize drilling of 7 exploratory boreholes in ASAL counties to provide groundwater data, and they will clean up 25.7 kilometers of earthy water and map pollution hotspots and discharges. In the mining sector, we are going to issue 7,783 mineral export permits. We'll also issue 6,427 commercial explosive licenses and 472 fireworks permits. We'll be inspecting 85 exploration operations, 224 mining operations, 160 mineral dealers operations, 610 commercial explosive operations, and 771 fireworks operations. We'll be conducting mineral exploration of 14 industrial and 4 agro minerals. These are copper, coltan, iron, and volcanic massive sulfide minerals. We'll conduct preliminary assessments of strategic minerals in 7 counties and sign 2 joint ventures through our National Mining Corporation, who are licensed to handle, who are basically given the mandate to handle strategic minerals. So we expect to sign 2 joint ventures. We shall conduct 4 geological site investigations, and we shall also train 8,725 artisanal and small-scale miners on mine safety, health, and environment, and formalize 255 operations into mining marketing cooperative societies. Under the wildlife subsector, they will disperse Kenya shillings 2.818 million as human wildlife conflict compensation claims, reduce the poaching of threatened and endangered species by 54%, and recruit and train 1,350 rangers and 150 cadets to enhance wildlife conservation and management. They will also be able to restore 7,839 hectares of wildlife habitat, and they will receive 8.9 million park visitors, thus realizing Kenya shillings 21 million in A through digitization and revenue collection in the national parks. They will also construct, rehabilitate, and maintain 169.5 kilometers and 121.5 kilometers and another 5,866 kilometers respectively in different national parks. They'll be able to provide water for wildlife by constructing 18 water ponds and 2 boreholes. They'll be able to conduct a national wildlife census to determine wildlife population. In the environment and climate change subsector, they will be able to establish 4 mini e-waste model collection centers and 6 model waste management demonstration centers and 6 model material recovery facilities to promote circular economy. They will license 249,758 waste transporters. They will establish 6 green points, centers of excellence to promote environmental conservation. They will rehabilitate 360 hectares of degraded ecosystem and protect 427,803 hectares of water catchment areas to produce 250,000 and they will be able to produce 250,000 high-value tree seedlings. They'll be able to install 120 automatic weather stations across 24 counties and 3 automatic weather observing stations or systems to enhance accuracy and reliability of weather forecast. They will restore 59 wetlands across the country. They will develop and submit to UNFCCC the Kenya National Determined Contribution NDC commitment of 2031-2035 to unlock the climate finance and promote climate resilience through climate irrigation and adaptation actions. Forest subsector, they will coordinate the growing of 1 billion trees under the 15 billion tree program. They will produce 192,981 kg and distribute 367 kg of quality tree seedlings. They will produce 260 million assorted tree seedlings. They will do rehabilitation of 59,976 hectares of degraded natural forest, establish 27,633 hectares of woodlots in private farms, protect 2.6 million hectares of gazetted natural forest, establish 16,000 hectares of forest plantation in gazetted public forest, and 18,259 hectares of commercial trees and 2,141 hectares of bamboo forest. They will be able to construct 2 seedlings processing units, maintain 610 kilometers of forest roads, and maintain 389 hectares of seed sources. Under the governance and policy development, the sector developed the following laws and policies: access to biological resources and benefit sharing regulations 2025, extended producer responsibility regulations. The Water Amendment Bill 2024 was also enacted. The Water Development Regulations on water resources, water services, water harvesting and storage. The National Sanitation Management Policy was developed. Access and Conservation Fees Regulations 2025. 5 mining regulations, including the Dealings in Minerals Amendment, Gemstone Identification and Value Additions Fees, License and Permits Amendments were done. Royalty Collection and Management, and also Mining Support Services Amendments were done. In terms of analysis of the performance of the sector, in terms of the capital project, I will start with the irrigation. They developed 30 projects, water and sanitation 180 projects, mining sector 20 projects, wildlife 18, environment and climate change 36, forest 21, totaling to 305. Let me now take you through the medium-term priorities and financial plan for the MTF period 2026-2027 and 2028-2029. This I'll take you in terms of the programs and objectives, in terms of the subsector, and then the program and its objective. Under irrigation, the program is irrigation and drainage development, land redemption and climate resilience irrigation development. The objective is to increase irrigated crop production, to strengthen reliability of irrigation water, increased and resilience of the communities against drought. Under the water subsector, water and sanitation subsector, the program is water resource management and national water and sanitation investment. The objective is to increase availability of safe and adequate water, to increase or to enhance accessibility of water and sanitation services. Under the mining sector, the program is geological survey and geoinformation management and the mineral resource management. The objective is to provide and manage the geoscientific data to prospective clients and for easy access, to effectively manage licensing and concessions, promote minerals value additions and marketing. Under the wildlife subsector, the program is wildlife conservation and management. Objective is to the sustainable conserve and manage the Kenya wildlife. Under the environment and climate change, the program is environment management and protection. And then they also have another program which is meteorological services, water towers conservation and rehabilitation. The objectives of this is to sustainably manage and conserve the environment, to promote reliable weather and climate information for decision making, and to sustainably manage, conserve, and protect and our water towers. Under the forestry, the program is Forest Development Management and Conservation and Agroforestry and Commercial Forest. Objectives is to develop, research, manage and conserve forest resources and ecosystems for sustainable development and posterity. To promote, development of agroforestry and the commercial forestry. In terms of the general administration of the sector, I think that is another program that cuts across, is to enhance governance and service delivery in the subsector. Ladies and gentlemen, now let me take you through the key outputs in the financial year 2026-2027 and the medium term. Under the irrigation subsector, it is to increase the area under irrigation by 300,000 acres through development and rehabilitation of the irrigation infrastructure. They want to increase capacity of water harvested and stored for irrigation by 1 billion cubic meters, increase the paddy rice production to 900,000 metric tons, equip 30 public schools with boreholes and greenhouses under the micro irrigation program for schools, and finalize the National Land Reclamation Policy and Bill. Under the water subsector is to increase access to clean and safe water from 74% to 80%, increase access to safe managed sanitation from 40.9% to 65%, and elimination of open defecation. They want to increase the per capita water storage from 107 cubic meters in 2022 to 234 cubic meters. Provide additional 2.1 million people with water and sanitation service, and conserve and underserved and unserved urban and rural areas. They are going to train 4,740 water technicians at the Kenya Water Institute and complete 67 projects within the Kenya Water Institute campus. Complete various water and sanitation projects, including water and sanitation development project to serve 2,302,300 people. Yamo Dam to provide water to 40,000 people. Mwache Dam to provide up to 120 million cubic meters of water and serve as an additional 1.2 million citizens. The Sioi Mirunyi Water Project to serve 210,000 people. The Horn of Africa Groundwater for Resilience Project to serve additional 1.5 million people. Under the mining subsector, we're going to conduct mineral exploration of 15 industrial, agro, and construction minerals, determine the economic viability of 12 mineral deposits, undertake exploration feasibility appraisal of 2 strategic minerals, that is copper and chromite, complete the establishment of the geodata bank, inspect 709 mining exploration operations, 555 mining operations, 722 mineral dealers operations, and 1,430 blasting sites of commercial explosives. They're going to train 9,700 additional and small-scale miners on mine safety, health, and environment, and formalize 45 operations into mining marketing cooperatives. They're going to generate Kenya shillings 10 billion in mining royalties, the grant 300 additional mining permits, issue 15,000 mineral export permits, also issue 5,800 blasting explosive permits, and 1,050 fireworks license and permits. They are going to map 120 blasting induced vibration sites. Under the wildlife subsector, we're going to construct 125 kilometers, rehabilitate 108 kilometers, maintain 6,886 kilometers of fence, and construct 54 water ponds in parks and conservancies to mitigate human-wildlife conflict. They're going to conduct a national wildlife census to establish a wildlife population dynamics. They're going to conduct 12 wildlife disease surveillance studies to enhance wildlife health, and 2 status study for control of invasive species. Develop and disseminate 48 wildlife studies and research, and facilitate 11 million park visitors. They're going to propagate 35 million and grow 15 million indigenous trees, seedlings, restore 8,300 hectares of wildlife habitat. Then they're going to maintain 8,996 kilometers of roads and 90 airstrips in parks and conservancies. They're going to enforce the ban on single-use plastics in protected areas. They're going to conduct conservation, education, and awareness programs in communities and learning institutions. They're going to disperse Kenya shillings 5.9 billion of wildlife compensation claims and graduate 2,100 students on wildlife management. On environment and climate change subsector, they're going to review the National Environment Policy 2013 and the MCA Act 1999 and develop 10 regulations under the Climate Change Act and the Kenya Meteorology Bill. They're going to restore 40 degraded wetlands to enhance ecosystem resilience, strengthen enforcement on ban of the single-use plastics and enhance circular economy, establish 12 demonstration centers for solid waste management, conservation of Cherangani forest ecosystem through growing of 4 million trees seedlings, restore 1,200 hectares of degraded land in the Lake Naivasha Basin and 700 hectares in the Lake Victoria Basin to strengthen watershed management, reduction of the greenhouse gas emissions to 98 metric tons of carbon equivalent through implementation of the mitigation and adaptation of action across key sectors. They are going to modernize the meteorological infrastructure and service to increase reliability and accuracy of the weather forecast for decision making across all the sectors. In the forest subsector, they are going to grow 4.5 billion trees under the 15 billion tree program. They are going to produce and distribute 700,000 kilograms of seeds. They are going to establish 400 tree nurseries, produce 2.2 billion seedlings for rehabilitation of the degraded lands, rehabilitation of 330 and 50 hectares of degraded forest, protect and conserve 2.6 million of gazetted public forests, maintain 690 kilometers of forest road, establish 6,800 hectares of bamboo forest, establish 8,504 hectares of forest plantation, gazette 4,500 hectares of public forest, establish 10,164 hectares of woodlots, develop and disseminate 137 forest research technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll now take you through the sector budget requirements and allocations, and this will be in millions. Session Chair, ladies and gentlemen, under the expenditure classification we have, which is normal, recurrent, and development, approved estimates for 2025-2026 is 23,877 for the 2025-2026, and 2026-2027 the requirement is 59,692. So 2027-2028 the requirements remains at 59,915, and in 2028-29 the requirements will slightly increase to 63,559. The actual allocation, Session Chair and the ladies and gentlemen, for 2026-2027 the actual allocation is 35,259, and 2027-2028 the allocation will be 27,765, and in 2028-29 we expect the allocation to increase to 40,442. In development, the approved estimates for 2025-2026 is 61,987, and the requirement is in 2026-2027 the requirement is 232,261. 2027-2028 the requirement is 240,956, and 2028-2029 the requirement is 238,492. The allocation for the period 2026-2027 under development is 70,098. 2027-2028 the allocation will increase slightly to 83,592, and in 2028-29 we expect this to jump to 120,955. The total subsector in terms of what was approved is 95 million. In the year 2025-2026 is 95,864,000, and we expect an increase by 2029 to reach 161,397,000. Important to note is the requirement. You can see that our requirements is higher than what is being approved, ladies and gentlemen. Under the current budget requirements and allocations in Kenya shillings millions, the gross in terms of the approved estimates for 2025-2026 is 33,877,000 as against the requirements which you can see there. Let me, for the sake of time, let me just allow members to view it and see. But in 2028-2029, we expect this to reach 40,444,000. A&A, the approved estimates is 19,165,000, and the requirements will keep on increasing in subsequent 2026-2027. We expect it to go to 20,129,000, and that will increase all the way by 2028. It will be 22,295,000. The net will be 14,712,000 against the requirements, and that will also increase by 2028-2029. It will go up by, that's another 18,147,000. Chair session, in terms of compensatory employees for the year 2020 approved for the 2025-2026, it is 2,919,000. Transfer to SAGAs, what is approved is 27,050,000, and other recurrent is 3,908,000. So, Chair, you can see against the requirements that the requirements are higher than what has been allocated, and you expect this again to increase in 2028-2029. Under development in Kenya shillings, the gross approved estimates for 2025-2026 is 61,987,000 against the requirements, and the actual allocation is for 2026-2027 is 70 million. GOK component approved estimates in 2025-2026 is 19,834,000 against the requirements which are displayed there, and what is been allocated is 23,251,000, and we expect this to increase. We expect the allocation to increase in 2028-2029 to reach 48,547,000. Loans, the approved estimates for 2025-2026 is 37,393,000 against the requirement that is there for the year 2026-27, and the actual allocation is 42,519,000 in 2026-2027, and that will increase all the way to 68,080,000 in 2028-2029. Grants is 3,870,000. What has been approved estimates. What is the requirement is 7,689,000, and the actual allocation in 2026-27 is 3.87, and this will also increase gradually. Session Chair, I think I've taken you through the resource allocation against the requirements and the actual allocation, which then takes us to the resource gap. The sector resource requirements was Kenya shillings 876,000 compared to allocation of Kenya shillings 388,100,000. So this gives us a deficit of Kenya shillings 506 million or 506.7 million during the MTEF period. The sector has prioritized key interventions for implementations in the MTEF period using the available resources. Session Chair will also now take you to the cross-cutting, the cross-sector linkages and emerging issues and challenges. The cross-sector linkages, Chair, the sector is linked to all the MTEF 9 sectors, and it is vital for provisions of the natural resource which are utilized directly or indirectly in the production in all the sectors of our economy. The sector is key in implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, the African Union Agenda 2063, the EAC Vision 2050, the Kenya Vision 2030, and the Better Pillars, among other relevant global frameworks. Session Chair and members, what are the emerging issues? We have transition to green economy and climate resilient infrastructure, technological innovations, AI, remote sensing, and digital, which are digital twins, climate financing, green climate funds, adaptation fund, biodiversity frameworks fund, which are also, we're also facing the issues of desalination of freshwater sources, geopolitics, cross-border wars, pandemics and zoonotic diseases, shifting mineral supply chains and invasive special species management, natural resource benefit sharing, which normally leads to conflict, and therefore it takes us to the challenges. What are the challenges the subsector is facing or the sector is facing? Basically, from funding, it is inadequate. It is clear from our presentation, both in terms of the funds and the human capital, because you can look at the funds allocated for employee compensation. That means we need to have additional to be able to employ officers to serve. The negative effects of climate change, increasing droughts, floods and pollution, losses to infrastructure, ecosystem and livelihoods, deforestation and land degradation, undermine climate resilience and ecosystem integrity, aged and depleted water and irrigation infrastructure, causes high non-revenue water, community conflicts and land compensation disputes, delay projects delivery, the high cost of resettlement action plan, RAP, illegal mining and environmental crime, unlicensed mineral extraction and smuggling fuel, the fraud, child labor and ecosystem damage, limited enforcement capacity hampers regulations of the artisanal and large-scale mining, human-wildlife conflict and due to human encroachment in wildlife habitats, poor land use practice, riparian encroachment and invasive species reduce the resource productivity. Session Chair, we've come up with the recommendations and also we shall make our conclusion. In terms of recommendations, we need to diversify and mobilize resources through PPPs, climate financing, and blended funding models aligned to our fiscal space. Promote climate smart and increase investment, renewable energy, digital innovation, and community development. Safeguard ecosystem and promote sustainable livelihood through reforestation, restoration, and the clean energy adaptation. Enhance intergovernmental collaboration and partnership with the private sector, research bodies, and development partners. Advance the climate smart human-wildlife coexistence through research, water access, and awareness initiatives. Citizens' participation in the tree growing towards achieving the 15 billion tree initiative. Session Chair, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, environment, water, natural resource, and regional development sector is central pillar of Kenya's economy. The sector has set priorities to be implemented in the MTF period 2026-2027 and 2028-2029 with clear targets aimed at achieving sustainable development in a clean and secure environment. The sector will also continue with the implementation of the targeted interventions that will contribute directly to the inclusive socio-economic transformation, and the interventions that have been put in place are in line with the Vision 2030, the Sustainable Development Goals, and the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. I thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Chair, for that great presentation, giving us the performance of the sector, where we are and where we are going. Before we invite questions and comments from the plenary, we want to invite a discussant that is from KIPRA. This is an agency of government that looks at policy and just see the coherence of the plan that we are talking about today with the national plans that we have put in place. So welcome to stage Bwana Joshua Laichena to take us through, just to give us their point of view with regard to the sector plans and alignment to the various policies, positions by government. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Session Chair, Principal Secretaries represented here, and everyone who is here, all protocols observed. Good morning. Good morning. I think one of the biggest tasks that us in Kipra we are given is you prepare documents very well, and then you want us to look at where you have left, we identify the gaps. But ideally, that is our work as a think tank. And sometimes when you sit down to read the 200-page document, sometimes your head gets hot and you need hair on your brain. That's why I don't have a tie today. Now, I'm here to highlight key gaps that we identified in the sector of environmental protection, water, and natural resources. I want to start by setting a context, and this is related to the mandate that the national government has been given in this sector, and also the county government and other players in the sector. From what you can see there, the national government in that sector is supposed to set standards and develop policies, national programs, and also undertake major infrastructure and regulatory oversight. So that is a duty that the national government cannot be able to run away from, and that is what one of the things that we evaluate when we are looking at this medium-term expenditure framework. Below it, you will see there is intergovernmental arena where we have sector working groups, and I am sure that all those who are representing sectors here, you work through sector working group. You have joint planning even in the other sectors, not only on the expenditure framework, but also other things that you do in the sector. You also have joint enforcement, climate and environmental financing pipelines. I've seen or I've heard the chair or the presenter mentioning the areas they need to work together and the prioritization. Below, you will be able to see various subsectors and what it is supposed to be able to prioritize. And then below, you will be able to see county governments where they are supposed to cascade or to do their MTEF, I would say, and be able to integrate this in their county integrated development plan. They are also supposed to develop bylaws to protect the environment and the other sectors that are within the environment and protection. And also water services, extension services, they are also supposed to do conservation. But also one of the other huge mandate for the county is land use planning, because in the counties that is why we have community land, large tract of community lands, and these community lands is where the wildlife are, that is where the forest and many other protected areas. And therefore, when you look at that in this sector, all players are supposed to work together to be able to achieve the mandate. Now, looking at the sector report, we note that the sector report provides a very clear performance review, priorities, and financial plans for the next 3 years. And at this point, I want to mention that I did not concentrate on the last 3 years, because the last 3 years have passed. What I looked at is what lessons did we learn from those 3 years that informed us in doing or working on the next 3 years expenditure frameworks. I also saw that there is alignment to the Vision 2030 MTF for better and also SDGs is very, very evident in the document. The structure also complies with the Treasury Circular number 8 of 2025, which gives out the structure, the areas to be covered, and that one is also very well compliant. However, there are several gaps that we identified because we also supposed to be guided by the global frameworks and the standards that are required in the development of MTF. Now, key observations. Number one, the extensive program by program performance reporting is outlined there. Their output and the key performance indicators, very well provided for irrigation sector, water, mining, forestry, wildlife, and climate change. There are also quantitative achievements that are reported in all the sectors, how the sector has performed over the years, and there is also full sector resource requirement and allocation that have been identified and the gaps therein. There is also a strong link with health, gender equality and climate action, public and administration, security, and I think the PS mentioned that. And also, there are emerging issues that have been very well articulated, like renewable energy, public-private partnership, climate financing, desalination, invasive species, and mineral supply chains. The other than observation that actually I summarized are now the weaknesses. In summary, the weaknesses is that when we are preparing the MTF, we are supposed to have or to be guided by what we call the theory of change, where you link the input to output and the impact. That is largely missing, and I think that is something that can be able to be picked as a lesson in the development of other MTF in the years to come. There is also weak link between sector strategies and the budget. When you look at what the water, what the forest has done, there are likely to be overlaps. Because in these sectors, you have also sagas that operate within these resources, and those are likely to have overlaps, and therefore that harmonization and the link to be able to know how they are going to work in terms of the budget is not there. There is no unified sector outcome framework. I would have expected to have that, a sector framework that actually brings all the sectors together. What are the issues, how the sectors are supposed to work together is not very well pronounced in the document. Monitoring and evaluation systems are not fully elaborated in the document. And I think M&E is very crucial to be able to monitor whether we are implementing our projects timely, we are using our resources in the best way possible, efficiently, and whether we are achieving what we intended to achieve. That is missing. And then there is no risk analysis or mitigation matrix. There are always risks. With the various challenges, with the various emerging issues, you expect in each of the sector, there are risks. And we need to have a matrix where we are looking at the risks that are likely to occur in each of the sector, and we deal with them. Now, these are now priority gaps that we observed. Number one, I want us to take us through for the next 3 years. When you look at the green bar is the resource gap. In fact, the resource gap is less than the resources that these sectors are given. And this has been like that since I started coming here about 7 years ago. And that is an issue that we need to look at together to see our needs are very high. For example, if you look at water and sanitation, the needs are very high. The resources that were given us more, and then the gaps are very high. Even if you look at the other sector, I mean the next year, 27, 28, it's the same, 28, 29, it's the same. Just to highlight that. Now, in terms of overall gaps that we look at, the resource gap, resource mobilization gap, the financing gap of 185, 177, 137, along or across all those 3 years is very, very evident. And we are not, in the document, there is no explanation why we continue having resource gap. Why do we plan to use more than we have? Are we able to fit within the budget that we get allocated from the National Treasury? Or are we able to raise more fundings to be able to cover that resource gap? We need to have that explanation, how the sector will be able to revamp or be able to get more funding to be able to achieve. Because the PS has actually mentioned very many issues that the sectors will be prioritizing. Although he's talked about prioritizing, there are other things that needs to be done and that need to be catered for. There is weak evidence base, no value for money, or cost efficiency indicators, so that when we use 1 million Kenya shillings, we will be able to say, was that worth? Or we just spent and we are not able to know what we spent for. And that is why you will find that in the National Assembly, the accounting officers and the CSCs are called to explain some of the things that have been done. Maybe there is no value for money. I know there are various strategies that are being done, including EGP, and I heard one time the president mentioning, why should we be able to buy a pen at the 50 shillings when in the market it is 10 shillings. We buy it at the 50 shillings. And then these are the things we are able to explain. We are not able to explain. That value for money is actually portrayed in our procurement system. And I believe that the EGP is a very good venture, a very good initiative to be able to ensure that at the point that when we are spending the money, we are made sure that we are getting value for money. That is what I could be able to highlight there. No risk and judgment budgeting, climate shocks, land dispute, and litigation risk are not quantified. So these are the things that we need to do in the budget. We go further than the usual, the normal, so that we can be able to implement this. Structure and alignment gaps, there is missing theory of change. I mentioned that. Weak presentation of sector-wide resource chain, whereby we have program KPI are listed, but they lack consolidated sector outcome indicators and baseline target trajectories for those 3 years. They are not there. So probably the next time that one will be done, that will be highlighted. And then there is no sector risk matrix. I mentioned that. Although emerging issues are mentioned, there is no risk assessment, no mitigation strategies, or even the probability scoring sheet where we can actually be able to know what is going to be done. When you go to program performance review quality gaps, we observe that there is underachievement, underachievement explanation is inconsistent because in many sections we talk about in budget cuts or delayed disbursement. But we lack deeper analysis, the root cause of why are there budget cuts? Why are there delays in disbursement? If we are able to highlight these issues, then probably we can be able to deal with them. I also saw that there is pending bills analysis is presented but not interrogated, especially under table 2.8. They are listed. It does not analyze causes, impact on service delivery, or clearance strategy. We have lost, for example, Kenya Wildlife Services, it has lost that talk about compensation. And some of the pending bills are the ones that are coming there. We need to look at that and see how these ones are coming up. When you go to financial analysis and medium-term costing, we note that the no resource mobilization plan, despite the huge financing gaps, and that needs to be outlined by the sector. Probably we need to devise ways of how we can be able, if we can't be able to get all the resource allocation that are given by the National Treasury, then we should actually be able to have synergies with the development partners and other private, public-private, we initiate public-private partnership to be able to fill those gaps. No costing methodology, description. Global MTEF guidelines requires transparency on assumption, price factors, macroeconomic parameters. I mentioned about EGP, and actually that is where we have to be transparent on the costing that we are doing. No prioritization trade-off analysis. While priorities are listed, the report needs ranking formula. Sir, you said that you are going to prioritize projects. Probably we need a formula there. What are you going to do for you to pick this project against the other one? Then we have weekly change between MTP4, beta plan, and budget. Sometimes we have activities that are outside the MTEF that we are going to be able to implement. A good example, sir, I saw you saying that in the sector there are various policies and laws that have been developed. But I did not see any element in that budget that is costing the development of those policies. They are the policies, they will require resources to be developed. So next, we need to have a costing for the development of the policies so that we can be able to have that budget. Cross-sector linkages, risk emerging issues. No cross-sector coordination mechanism. The report describes linkages but does not define coordination platform. Although we have sector working groups, I would have loved to see where we are saying forestry, climate change, irrigation, they are going to sit down and have a mechanism where they can be able to work together. They do joint planning, they do joint expenditure, budgeting and expenditure framework together. No sector-wide risk or sensitivity analysis. We missed this one in terms of climate event. One of the things that have been lacking in developing countries is where we use evidence for planning. For example, what will be the impact of climate change on water, on wildlife, on irrigation, on all this? You need to generate this from evidence, and probably you could be able to work with the KIPRA. They be able to give you that evidence, provide evidence that will give you figures that you can be able to work with, that if we don't do this, it can also be a resource mobilization too. When you have evidence, you can actually be able to say, if we don't do this, this is how much we are going to lose. If you give us to tackle this, this is how much we are going to make the country better. I said again, no M&D plan or schedule. Global practice requires that we have baselines, annual targets, data sources, reporting cycle, and responsible agencies. We need also in this MTEP to be having an annex where we can actually be able to have those elements there. This is just a summary of what we have already said. I go to subsector gaps. These are now specific. Environment and climate, I've not structured them the way you structured, sir, but the information is there. No costed climate resilient strategy. I know we have national adaptation plans, national climate change document, policy document that needs to be done, but they are not costed. So even when you tell your staff to implement that policy, they may not be able to implement because there is no cost that is attached to it. Limited data on emission reduction, adaptation progress, and all that. Maybe these are the things we need to invest in to be able to generate data that tells us how much are we emitting, how much are we making progress in terms of the measures that we are taking for adaptation and the rest. Emerging issues have been mentioned, AI, digital twins, renewable energy and adaptation, but they are not translated into MTEF investment. I needed to see where we are saying in the environmental sector we are going to use AI, maybe in monitoring wildlife, maybe in monitoring air quality, and the like. So, and that actually can actually be able to help us achieve more. When you go to water and sanitation, there is very high non-revenue water levels, 44%. That is above the global standards of around 15%. We need to know that water that is getting lost. Let's say we go and treat 100 liters using all the resources. We are telling ourselves that we cannot know where 44 liters goes, or they are not able to be accounted for. That's what we are saying. So we need to work on that. We'll be able to arrest that. In delayed project due to funding and land issues, I know land issues, when we are having project, we have National Land Commission, and that's why I said when we have a matrix on how we can be able to work together, we can be able to arrest that. Weak sanitation performance indicators for urban poor. When you look at SDG, I'm not very sure which SDG that talks about water and sanitation. There are indicators that we monitor. There are targets that we have as a country to be able to achieve global targets that are set there. They are not looking good. And therefore, these indicators, we need to define them in the MTEF so that they can be funded and be able to implement to achieve that. We have also no national water security risk model. I think the water will be the next problem that we are going to have. Yet, we are not using water. The last 2 weeks I was in Naivasha, and the Lake Naivasha is actually returning back to where it is. It's actually displacing the hotels and the people who have already encroached. But that is a very fresh water lake. Together with the Lake Victoria, I hear there is another lake, is it Bogoria or Baringo, that is also, there is a part that is fresh water. Suppose we are able to manage this water. We be able, for example, we build a reservoir in Maimayu at the hill there, and then we can supply everybody with that water, so that we can actually be able to have everyone having water as per SDG targets. In the irrigation sector, many irrigation programs cite the budget cut without deeper structural analysis. While we have Galana Kulalo security project, there are other projects that are ongoing that are irrigation focused, and National Irrigation Authority within and with the ministry, they can actually be able to know why this budget. Why is it easy? When we need the money, we run there and we cut budget for irrigation. Why are we not cutting budget for probably security, education, and all that? Are we saying that this is a lesser sector than the other? No unit cost benchmark, cost per acre developed. We have the data, or the report talks about how many areas, acres have been, irrigated. But we need that cost per acre so that we know whether it is actually compliant to global standards. Now, no climate risk assessment for irrigation, because irrigation, climate change is a very big threat. Mining, I saw, sir, you presented the development of mining data, but we do not have an harmonized repository where, for example, today, if any CS in any of the sectors wanted to know what is there, they cannot be able to access that. We need to have that. No valuation of mineral asset. We don't even know how much value of the asset we have in the minerals. The same for water and all that. No county specific value chain development plan for mining. But I hear there is in Taita Taveta, there's what do you call it? Small scale mining project that are there when you go to Kakamega and others. We need to have all that. Wildlife, I combine it with the forestry. Human-wildlife conflict is increasing, but no cost and mitigation plan. How do we intend to reduce this burden of, the pending bills that may arise from the wildlife? Tree growing achievement is very high, but it lacks sustainability indicators. I know at Kipra, we are having a project where we actually even have a land with the KWS. We plant those trees and we ensure that those trees, we grow them. Every year we go to see how many have been able to grow, and then we had like that. those need to be there. No monitoring of forest carbon stock or biodiversity indices, it's not indicated there, which is very crucial to tell us how we are doing. Emerging issues, shift to green infrastructure and net zero pathway, that's what we need to do. There is a lot of, if you live in town, you can actually be able to see electric vehicles, electric motorcycles, and many other. So in all the sectors of environment, we need to integrate that. Alternative financing, PPI, blended finance, carbon market. I know you mentioned them, but we need to be more emphatic on how we are going to get this. New technologies, integration of AI, digital twins, and all those others. I saw somewhere that the Chinese have developed something, a plane that runs with one cell like that. I've also heard that there is a small cell that you put, and you can have your phone forever without going off. You don't need the electricity to charge. Once you have that cell, then you can actually be able to have that. Mineral supply chain disruptions. I know this is a sector that is very problematic, but we need to see what we do to see that the supply chain is there, so that we can be able to create jobs, so that we can be able to create value. Invasive species is another key emerging issues in various counties that we need to ensure as at the national level, why we make policies, how do we need to tackle these risks that are coming in. Cross-cutting issues, again, coordination gaps between national and the county government. You will be able to find that we will have this MTF and all the rest. But when we go to the counties, these are not translated the same way. We have gaps in terms of the way counties implement these issues, and therefore we need to look at that. Lack of integrated data systems. Thank you. In a minute. And I have mentioned all that, IFNDing bills, joint financing, I mentioned that. What we need to do, I'm actually summarizing what we have said. We develop the order change, introduce sector-wide prioritization and ranking of project, framework for project, conduct cost and the value for money analysis, design resource mobilization for all those other areas that we can be able to get gaps. Develop matrix and the rest. Then we have to address spending bills and sector coordination, especially where we are talking about One Health, water, energy, food in excess, integrate county priorities, and lastly, strengthen monitoring for sector performance. Just to mention it before I conclude, this is a sector that you will find that it is fragmented. Forest is doing its own work, wildlife is doing its own work, water is doing its own work, but these things happen in the same landscape. And I'm happy to say that the country is developing ecosystem-based integrated natural resource management policy. And I know, SARS, you are aware about that. I'm part of that that group that is developing. Actually, I came from yesterday in a meeting that they had in terms of finalization. This is where we need to plug in to see that now we have very well coordinated working. Now, I don't want to go this. These are the issues. I think these slides will be shared. You will be able to see the issues that are in the sector, the evidence that we have, implication, and MTF intervention that are required. So, they are for all sectors. I'm not going to do them for the sake of time. And therefore, that is how much we have been able to interrogate that report, and we hope that this comment will be able to better the MTF making next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joshua. I think your insights are very thought-provoking. I could see suggestions which Treasury can take in improving the MTF budgeting process. I've also seen in my sector, water, the things that I need to look at, and I believe all the other state departments have seen the areas where we can improve to make sure that our plans are more responsive and address the issues that are there. I think also maybe a suggestion to Kipra also is that when analyzing this, I could see some questions he was posing which maybe we never had time to interrogate each of the State Department, because there are some things that are already existing, and maybe because in the budget making process, there are certain details we don't put here because they are meant for other reporting. But I think it would be good maybe when analyzing, you go to State Department for water, you ask the questions, seek clarifications, same thing for mining and others, so that at the end of the day, the comments that come don't question things that already exist, but only looking at things that are supposed to be added. Now, looking at the time, we are really far much gone, but it wouldn't be complete if now we don't sit back and listen from the audience. And I want to give us around 10 minutes or so, asking so that you can either seek clarification, make comment, give suggestion, and then I would want to ask all of us who are here, the State Departments, any question or comment that is relevant to your State Department, prepare if there is going to be a response or there's going to be a general comment, and then we can sum up. So I'm now opening the floor. I believe there should be somebody with the microphones, and I want to start from this end, going this way. I'll take maybe the first 5, pause, and then we do another 5. So I want to give, I'm seeing some young people here, and this is a place where we want to give them also an opportunity. Now, there are 3. Will you choose 2 of you? Nani? Okay, so then this no, boss. How about total hour? Oh, these young people. This, yeah. Those ones here.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Betanzisa Madeka. I'm from Raraka Sub-County. I'll just say my issues and comments. That is environmental degradation. From that is improper disposal of waste. Recommendation is that you should allocate dumping site away from schools and the public, because this improper disposal of waste, example like in Korogocho, somewhere called Dandora, there's a big dump site, and let me talk in Kiswahili. Kuna hiyo area kuna shule ziko around, then bado kuna watu wenye wanaishi karibu, so hapo I think hapo watu wanaweza pata ugonjwa because watoto wako hapo wengi, kuna watoto wenye wanasomea hapo. Hiyo shule inaitwa Glory. I'll just comment that you should work on that because that is a risk. Another is
let's summarize so that ndio tupatie watu wengine pia nafasi, yeah?
And lack of water in school.
Water, okay, so
Recommendation is increasing funding in water in land conservation programs, reducing environmental degradation and making clean water and more available to children in homes and schools. Thank you.
thank you. Najua wacha tupatie Gen Z's boss. Najua hawa ndio the future. Let's hear from them. Karibu.
Hello everyone. Yes, so my name is Smith. I'm 16, and I wanted to highlight some few things to the sector. Number one, want to thank the sector for prioritizing schools. I'm really happy to see that you are targeting 120 schools for the water. Just a kind request, please consider the big number we have of our population as children. We are almost beyond 20 million children, so please try and increase that number that you're targeting the schools, and as well target rural schools. Do not go so much with the urban schools. We have schools in remote areas which really have to go a mile to rivers to fetch water, and we're talking about even boarding schools, you see. So this will even, when we have this provided, we will have better hygiene in our schools and no infections. Thank you. Lastly, just one more, I'm brief. This was a comment to the sector on arid and semi-arid lands, the environment sector. We do understand that it's the most vulnerable space, but we want to recommend that you work on trying to unlock economic opportunities at that space, because we need to have hope in there, find ways on how we can regenerate the land, you see, revamp it, if it's planting crops that are resilient to the indigenous land of the ASEL areas. You see, we can spur economic growth and revenue to bring back to provide better education, health, you see. So that was my few remarks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lastly, we have a memorandum.
Memorandum, okay.
I believe if it's possible, by the end of the session, we can approach the dais to hand it over to the chair.
Thank you. We'll receive it here. Thank you.
Santi.
You can actually be bringing to give it to the session chair.
Thank you.
This sector chair. Make it short. Karibu.
Thank you
He's
very much.
always a very good supporter for the sector. He never misses any public hearing. I think for the last 3 years I've been seeing him. Karibu.
Thank you very much, session chair. I want to be very brief. My name is Daniel Murugu, and I've been here from Wednesday. And I'm happy the PS Kimtai was here. And now, in terms of actually what you raised as maybe your projection for resource requirement vis-a-vis allocation. This is actually, you have some funding gaps. So this is a matter which is not just unique to you. All right, so the issue of about funding gaps is not just unique to you. All the presentation we've listened from Wednesday, it's coming out that we have less money for maybe the kind of programs you want to do. And this year's National Treasury was actually kind enough to give the reason, justification why. Number one was the aspect of debt servicing. Number two was actually low living collection by KRA. So your presentation is nice, but now the aspect of resource requirement was vis-a-vis the resource allocation. These are now the costing, debt servicing, and also low revenue collection by KRA. PS Water, I was able to interact with the presentation before I came here. And today morning here in Nairobi, I made an effort to print the document. I have a concern on what is captured as a summary of court awards. So your pending bills under court awards, the figure is nearly about 8 billion. How this now is actually computed here, I find mining has no money to pay under court awards. But now for the irrigation, there's a figure of about 7 million. Water and irrigation is about 109 billion, if I get that right. Wildlife, 720, maybe millions, Environment is 119 million money to pay. The total, you owe about 8 billion shillings. And now what you're able to pay so far is 955 million. On Wednesday, and you can confirm from PS Kiptai.
Make it brief,
Yeah, what I'm saying, let's not have this kind of court disputes where you find that you're spending more money to pay third parties. In this case now we have so much money going out instead of actually giving our people services. But this is a matter to the Office of the Attorney General and the respective departmental legal officers you have. And I wanted those officers to be here today. So anyway, I support this presentation. And now for the water sector, At the waterworks development, 620 million. We are supposed to pay in courts. That's not good because you are my friend. Then for Tana Waterworks Development Agency, 907,000 to pay. I hope those maybe the CE was supposed to be here, and I believe they are here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is the gentleman at the back there? The one in white shirt? Those are how many? Karibu imefika ngapi? I'm coming this way. I think after this now we'll pause, then I'll go here, and we try and make it short. So please, let's make it very brief. There's a gentleman there in a white shirt. Please, Simama.
Hi, good morning. My name is John. I'm coming from Nakuru County. Yes. Nilikuwa tu na swali through environment. Tunaongelelea mambo ya upandaji wa miti. Kule kwetu naona miti inakatwa kiholela. Sijui ministry wanafanya kazi gani, because tukisema mambo ya miti na tena tunaona watu wanakata, roho yetu inaumia sana. Thank you.
Thank you. That lady, and then we pause and maybe quickly answer.
My name is Engineer Jepchirchir. I come from Wazingishu County and Nairobi County. So my plea is on the grassroots. We have a big challenge on the grassroots, and since most of the youths are registered to groups, most youths have CBOs and organizations. How about we figure out with, currently the government is normally sponsoring youth through grants, but the grants are not enough for all the CBOs. Since we have a lot of challenges in the environmental sector, especially in Nairobi, we have a big challenge on the drainages. How about we go forward and look for a way we can empower the youths through CBOs to do the drainage and clogging, to do the drainage issues and the uchafu issues, so that we can solve that situation instead of giving out tenders through registered companies. We can figure out a way of giving the CBOs and the organized groups to do that. And to answer his question that he has asked, I don't think you need to answer that. The trees that are being cut, see the trees that measure up to the 10% of the forest cover. Whenever trees are matured, they need to be harvested. But atujesema mukate miti za forest, there is matured trees that when it reaches a certain age, they need to be harvested, then we plant others.
Thank you for answering. So we pause. I wish maybe environment, if there is anything to comment on. And then I believe the young people asked about how to unlock economic opportunities. Irrigation will be able to tell us why our irrigation schemes are targeting the ASAL areas, and it is a way of empowering the communities around there. And then maybe I'll also talk about the water in schools, requirement versus budgets. And then, yeah, I think I could see environment, I could see irrigation, I could see forest and ourselves. So let's start with environment. Quickly, because people's time.
Do we have officer from environment? Yeah, so give him a mic to respond.
Thank you, Chair. For the time being, I would say I've heard from the children about locating dumping sites close to schools. We have taken note and it will be addressed.
Thank you. Thank you. Irrigation?
Thank you, Chair. On the issue of unlocking economic activities in ASAL areas, currently we are focusing on water for schools and for micro irrigation, and also irrigation projects. We are currently focusing on ASAL areas to unlock economic activities in those areas. Thank you.
Forestry? I thought maybe, but the lady has answered why you see some harvesting happening. I think that one was good. Now, with regard to water for schools, just like irrigation, the State Department of Water and Sanitation also builds water infrastructure for schools and sanitation. And I think in this financial year, we have about 100 schools we are targeting, and mainly in the underserved regions, the dry areas. And the idea is that as we provide water to the schools, we also provide water kiosk for the communities around there, so that the water serves the schools as well as also the community. So I think this is a deliberate action by the ministry to ensure that we serve our children when they're in school. On the issue of requirement versus budget, and I think it is touching everywhere. You see, we have blueprints, strategic blueprints by the country. Vision 2030, each ministry has its own strategic plan, and then we look at the need by the citizens, and we cost. Now, if all resources were available, we would be able to address those challenges using we cost the requirement, but now based on the challenges that Treasury and the economy has, it is able to raise so little, and that's why now we go to prioritizing and then budgeting, and that's why you see there is a high requirement versus the budget. It is because the desire is to address all the challenges. Unfortunately, the resources are not enough. Now, I want to quickly, yes, Chair.
Assistant Chair, thank you. Let me just add something. The sector has looked at its challenges in terms of funding. And if you look at my presentation, I talked of alternative funding models that we need to look at. And if you heard yesterday in the State of the Nation address by His Excellency the President, he talked of developing the infrastructure fund and also the sovereign fund. So if we are going to now ensure that whatever we get from our resources are put into these particular funds, then it's going to be plowed back. You see, there's that challenge because we need to sustain it. We're talking about sustainability. If you looked at our presentation, it's talking about sustainability. How do we sustain this? It is important that now, with these two kind of funding models that we're going to develop, once it is passed by Parliament, then we are going to have more funds in the sector. So I think I'm talking to the gentleman from Kipra and also my brother Murugu there. But let me speak about the issue of pending bills and the lawyer's fee. The issue of the lawyer's fee, and especially where one state agency is suing another state agency, maybe it goes through the private lawyers. That has been, there's a circular to that effect where now we are supposed to have alternative dispute solutions within the government itself, either headed by the head of public service so that they bring the two parties together and agree. Because at the end of the day, the government is paying money out, whichever way. So those issues are being addressed, and I want to thank you for insisting that these issues should be looked at. In future, you will not see a lot of this. I submit, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I think I'll pick one of the two ladies. Whoever is close to the mic, you're lucky, and then we'll move this way. So quickly to Arakisha.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Faith Ngetich from Kericho County and also representing the Rift Valley Budget Hub. And I just wanted to mention something from my observation. With the analysis of the sector reports and the implementation reports, there is over-reliance of foreign funding, especially for the State Department. More than half of the development budget for the State Department of Water and Sanitation is dependent on external financing, which has its challenges like the delayed disbursement, the lengthy procurement process, and the donor conditions and counterpart funding requirements. And with that delay in disbursements, there's also delays in the low absorption of budget and also stalled and slow implementation of water projects. An example is Saimosoi Water Project in Baringo County. This is a project that was first started in 2017. And out of the 20 billion that is required for the project, the government of Kenya only allocates for 2 billion only. And its status at the moment, it's only 1%. You can imagine from 2017. We also have Kirandich Water Project also in Baringo County, started in 2017. And out of the 308 billion that is required, the government of Kenya is only allocating 380 million. The project is currently at 37%. And these are the projects in regions with low access to water. Baringo County has an access to water of 39%. And with If these projects are completed on time, it will help improve the access to water in this region. So my recommendation on the same is the government or the State Department need to reduce over-reliance of the external financing. They also need to allocate adequate funds for completion and also strengthen internal sources of funding and work on the public-private partnership. Thank you. We also have a memorandum that we'll submit on the same.
Thank you. This way. This way, Akuna. There's a gentleman back there. Okay. That gentleman up on to your right. To your right. To your right. The other way. Upande ule mwingine. Ule. Patia mwingine hapa as we go there. Okay, sawa.
Jambo.
Now, let's make it brief, quick. We've eaten so much into people's time here.
Thank you. I'm CPA Jacob Jero, member of ISPAC, Institute of Certified Public Accountant. I hail from Thaganiri County, but I stay here in Nairobi. Allow me to share a story first.
Please, let's make it very brief. I know we would wish to say so much, but just go to the point.
I'll be brief. I happen to travel in Netherlands, and this goes to environmental sector. They have, for example, now we have water in front of us. They don't have water in bottles. They drink water from tap. How can we make it possible that we have sustainability in terms of water all over the country? In terms of, we are talking about sustainability. And second one is in regards to transport. There is no private cars. It is all about public means whereby the government owns it. How do we reach that point? How do we make our people cycle to work? Because that is what we used to do when we are there. Number two is in regards to Intergovernmental Relation Technical Committee. In terms of the devolution of functions which have not been released. They have not been abandoned. So there is an clarity in regards to area of devolution. The other one which has been highlighted is in regards to pending bills. And
I think on the issue of devolution, I think this is not the right forum for that.
Okay.
The same thing for transport.
Right.
Yeah, so maybe we will pass that. Just focus on what is related to this sector, please.
Okay, in regards to pending bills, we will propose that maybe we can have develop and implement annualized priorities in terms of annual plans. Then prioritize legal verified on and development of how we are going to pay the bills because they are very high. Then we strengthen the budget planning to ensure that at least people are catered for. And also we have a quarterly disclosure in regards to, because all of us are aware and they appreciate that we have a problem in regards to pending bill. I don't need to mention the figures.
Thank you. I think yours are mainly recommendations. Thank you. So if you have any written document, submit to the chair, please. Okay, thank you. This gentleman there, and then there is a lady here, and then finally these are the gentleman was suit.
Okay, thank you. All protocols observed. Good morning. My name is Onesimus Mtinda from Makueni. I represent Kalawa Social Accountability Group, that is under CVA. My first question is, what are the measures or reforms put in place by the ministry to manage human-wildlife conflict as population grows and also in terms of compensation for wildlife conflict? The other question is, measures taken by the ministry to end the stories of completion of Dwake Dam to curb the issue of food security. So my recommendation on the last part of Dwake Dam is maybe the government or under the ministry can allocate more funds in Dwake Dam, especially that is in Makueni County. So we avoid more stories on that area and it being a political issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation that was done. And actually, my name is Emily Nanyu from Narok County. I have a question, and not a question, actually a concern, because many a times we plant trees. There is that order that we have to plant trees, whereby in the home I come from, we normally plant all trees, but there is no mechanism for protection. And even the trees they are planted there, they are not indigenous trees that can really grow over there. Sometimes they just fade away and they die. So I was recommending whether some allocation within the budget you have could be done in a way that there are programs and activities to create awareness to our people and the nation at large to embrace farmer-managed natural regeneration processes, whereby the farmers themselves will be the ones who are going to take care of their farms, because by the end of the day, if they take care of their farms and the canopy and the trees that are around, there is a lot that the country will get in terms of land regeneration, water conservation, and even the environment at large, which will mitigate the climatic harsh conditions that are being drawn because of the destruction of the environment. That's my take.
Thank you. I think there was somebody ule wa suit pale. Alafu bas, I think we will.
Congratulations the sector for what you have done, but I also start with my name. Yes. Mimi naitwa Wabogo wa Githaiga. I am the Secretary General of an umbrella body organization ambayo ni mwavuli wa Mau Mau Governing Council of Kenya. Thank you for a well thought out piece. The challenges of what you have talked about, the financing, starting with ourselves, I'm proposing Mau Mau Governing Council of Kenya in areas like Nyandarua and Mount Kenya. We are targeting, we are coming up with a mapping up strategy where those areas that forests were banned, we are not going to pursue who banned and why they were banned. Those areas that were banned, we come up with a strategy on how we are going to cooperate with this sector on what to plant, focusing again on indigenous trees and again shrubs. Jetago, naito Wabogo. Wabogo ni mutu wa medai. No, I'm not yet finished. Wabogo is on issues of herbs and Mbogo. And the Gedaiga is treatment and Medaiga is this pharmaceutical area. So, in the forest, in the bush, that's where I'm focusing on.
Thank you.
In the forest, much as we are talking about even these areas that have been banned, we want to come up and partner with the government on areas of those shrubs, medicinal shrubs, that we should plant. And with the targeted areas, that is one. Now on water, because on water and environment, I'm going just to target just one or two. In Nyandarua, yes. Lake Iliborosat, yes. Would we have a secretariat that will focus on how we'll dredge and have a factory of dredging that Lake Iliborosat so that even if it is drying and people are grabbing it when things were hard, then we get clean water, we get that first major factory. I've contacted several investors.
Thank you.
Let's get a secretariat there.
Now, finally, the lady in yellow.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. By names, I'm called Cherotich Emma Kasisi. I'm coming from Trans Nzoia, and I've come with a group of MMV Associate CLG. You can just wave for recognition. Thank you so much. I want to begin by acknowledging and appreciating the government and National Treasury for ensuring openness, accountability, and citizen participation in the financial year 2026-2027. And we have our submissions, and I'll be very brief.
I think if it is a submission written, we just, we recognize you and we appreciate you. I think you can just hand over so that, because if it is written, there's no need of going over it again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I would also request that we submit with the team after the program.
We'll do it down here.
Thank you so much.
Asante. The gentleman behind you finally now. I've seen him, he's been, yeah.
Thank you very much. Because of time, I'll highlight the issues of Itare Dam. The dam is currently at 29% completion rate, and it has stalled since 2018. So we are asking the Department of Water and Sanitation to be able to expedite. The dam, when completed, will be able to serve almost 1 million people from Kericho and Nakuru County.
Thank
So
you.
we are asking the Department of Water to be able to kindly tell us the plans they have in terms of completing the dam, because we see in the budget for this financial year, it has not been captured. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, there are quite a number of comments. Some were recommendations, and we really want to appreciate those recommendations that came. I think I will ask from all the state departments who are here, if there is any question that touched on you, you answer. I'll start from the end, coming this way, then I'll be the last one, because I saw a number of questions that are touching on water and sanitation. So the Karibu, if there is anything that touched on you as we finish, wind up, or any general comment touching on your ministry.
Thank you, Chair. There is one question that was raised by Onesimus Mutinda on the issue of HWC, the reforms that are being introduced to address HWC issues. We acknowledge that HWC issues are quite a weighty issue for discussion, but to focus on the question, there are a number of reforms. Number one, increasing awareness. Number two, working with partners. Number three, the ministry is introducing technology. Currently, there is a program that is running, which is digitally enabled to fast track real-time reporting of HWC cases in pilot counties, 6 of them, and maybe going forward, the aim is actually to roll it out to the rest of the counties. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Thank you very much. A lady from Narok talked about how we're going to empower, we're going to partner with Kenyans and how to sustain and manage the trees that are grown across the country. Yes, we have taken note of that, and currently we are encouraging all Kenyans of goodwill to come forward and partner with the State Department of Forests so that you can become patron of some of the forests that are within your areas of jurisdiction, so that we can work together and see how you are going to mobilize resources. We empower the local community so that they can take care of those trees that are grown. Currently, as of this month, we were in Mount Elgon, and I'm happy to note that our sector chair, who is seated here, PS Harik Mutai, volunteered, and he's now the patron of Mount Elgon Forest, the block from Kaboyua. He is mobilizing the local community around there, and is working with the State Department so that we are going to plant and restore the degraded area of about 103 hectares of land. We were there, we planted so many trees, and we are planning to restore that area with the local community, in partnership with the local community. We are going to purchase the plan is, we are planning to purchase the seedlings, the indigenous seedlings from the local people around there. We're not going to carry seedlings from Nairobi to Mount Elgon, but we're planning to mobilize resources so that we can purchase seedlings from Mount Elgon within there, use the community to plant and also to take care of those trees. So this is something we're working on, and we're also calling upon you people in Narok so that you can come forward and partner with the State Department in terms of managing and conserving our forests. Thank you very much.
Thank you from Forestry, and maybe just to add on what he has said, Kaptagat Forest, the champion is PS National Treasury, Mau East, that is Nakuru and parts of Kericho, is being championed by PS Engineer Festus Ngeno, and I'm taking up the Southwest Mau, that is Narok and Bomet. So we will work together. I come from Narok like you, so tuko pamoja. And your concern is just like mine, that it is our responsibility as the people coming from around there to take care of those resources that God has given us. So irrigation?
I think we don't have any question pending from irrigation. Oh yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Session Chair. I just want to reiterate that irrigation is the way to go, and the State Department is focusing in increasing area under irrigation for food security. And ASAL areas is one of our biggest targets because of the issue of water shortage and also the land. There's a lot of land, and it's an area that has not been exploited, and that is where we are, as a State Department, focusing for food production. Thank you.
The question on reforms in the human wildlife, has it been answered? There's a human wildlife conflict. Who is from forestry? You've already done it. Okay, wildlife and human wildlife conflict. I think PS Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Session Chair. Mine is just to give my closing remarks. First, as a chair of the sector, first and foremost, I want to thank all of you. And listening to you and your comments today shows that what the sector had prepared is actually aligned to the aspirations of majority of us Kenyans. And as we have promised, we are going to be resilient, and we're going to ensure that there is sustainability in all that we are doing. In my presentation, you heard I said our sector is a sector that feeds the entire of the other sectors, because in terms of natural resources, this is where we develop our resources to build our economy, to do the road infrastructure and all others. So our sector is really key. And I like what the discussant, the gentleman from Kibra said. We are the ones that once the funds are invested in our sector, then the other sectors will be able to grow. Mr. Wambugu, I want to thank you, because we need people like you. We need citizens who are able to participate in the tree growing. And the tree growing does not mean you choose medicinal and all other types of trees, indigenous trees, all is accepted. So it's all about us. And our sector is driven by us citizens. There is no any other person. Somebody talked about the development partners. I don't think we are going to rely on the development partners to develop our sector. We need to invest much in this sector. But I think from the State of the Nation address, let me repeat that again. This sector has been put in the forefront because all our resources, especially the royalties that is going to come from minerals, though none of you talked about questions of minerals. I don't know why. Next time we shall bring the miners from wherever they are so that they can come and also listen. If we're able to plow back our royalties into our economy, then our economy is going to grow. And I liked yesterday the president used base titanium as an example. After they have exploited the mineral resources and they have left the country, there is nothing tangible to show how much came from the resources that we harvested from Kwale, other than maybe what we have is what goes to the community. Kwale community, for example, the community is going to get over 808 million Kenya shillings, a plowback in terms of sharing of the resources. So I want to urge again all of our citizens to participate in exploration of our minerals and be receptive. Let's not oppose exploitation of resources. You saw when we declared in Bushangala, Kakamega, that we are now having a resource value. You talked about valuation of our resources. Now that's the real value of resources in that area, over 682 billion Kenya shillings. But then you find communities that are trying to oppose. So how are you going to exploit these resources? It is important that the community and Kenyans participate in it. There is sharing of royalties or revenue from these resources. So it is important that we participate in it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sector Chair. I think as I conclude, I would just want to touch on the questions that were targeted on the State Department for Water and Sanitation. I think the lady up there mentioned about the issue of external funding. Yes, it is true. Most of our water infrastructure that we are developing were funded through the development partners. But the realization that it is first hard to access the donor funds, the conditions are too hard. The other thing is that the release of such monies becomes a challenge. That's why we've been engaging, and if you heard the State of the Nation address yesterday, we are now taking charge of our development by the establishment of the Infrastructure Development Fund. This is where we will use our own resources and be able to invest in the water infrastructure. And the target here is that we are looking for the big water harvesting structures, that is the dams, water treatments, and water reticulation systems. With it also, we will do energy generation. So we'll combine the use of water dams for irrigation, for water, home household consumption, as well as also power generation. So it is in realization that our development will not be realized if we rely on external resources. Those are people's savings out there, and all they are doing is they are looking for how that money can earn more interest, and that's why they loan us. And the conditions they put also is too much, and that's why now we are saying, how can our own locally raised resources be used to securitize and be able to develop these projects. So those are the things that the government is doing, and I think you've heard from His Excellency the President. He has given a commitment by early next year that fund should be up and running, and we've already prioritized 50 mega water harvesting structures to start that process. So that is in realization that we cannot develop using money from outside. Number two is on, I think Njeru was asking, how can we drink water directly from our water taps? I can tell you for now, for most of the water, regulated water schemes, Nairobi, Nakuru, Nyeri, I think also parts of Eldoret, Mombasa, where we have regulated water schemes, you can drink water directly from the tap. It's only that because of the past history where water service providers were not very careful in making sure that they treat the water, then that history is still with us. But the target we have as a ministry is that you should be able to drink your water from the tap. And that's why, first of all, is to ensure 100% coverage. We are now at around 74%. And when we reach 100% coverage, where there are no rationing, so that there is no introduction of water we cannot verify. You see, when a water bowser brings water to your place, we don't know where they have collected. Yes, there are regulations to regulate them, but there are weaknesses in that area. But our target as a ministry is to ensure that within this period of the Vision 2030, we strive to reach 100%. And so that every household should be able to have water, and that is when we will be able to guarantee the safety and the security and health of that water that you drink. Thwake, Bwana Mutinda, I like the concern that you have raised. And as a ministry, we are committed. We actually are planning to start impounding water in May. That is to say, we have resources lined up. We will complete the project between end of April, beginning of May, so that when the long rains start, we should be able to start impounding water. Then shortly after, we will do the water treatment that will provide water now for Makueni, Kitui, and parts of Machakos. And then our sister agency, State Department for Irrigation, will abstract water also from the same dam to be able to irrigate 400,000 acres downstream along Makueni and parts of Kitui. So we are on course, and we will develop it. And we are also talking to our sister agency from Ministry of Energy through KenGen to install, because the dam will also have the capacity to generate around 20 megawatt of electricity. So we are finishing the dam, and we have resources. So there is no cause of alarm. If you come from around there, from next week you'll see some activity going on. Thank you. A gentleman, I think Wambugu, you mentioned Lake Olpolosat. Yes, this is a lake that, because of degradation of Aberdare, siltation went and filled the lake, and now people also started encroaching. The first thing we did through our Water Resources Authority is to gazette it as a catchment area. And now we are working with the Provincial Administration, Ministry of Lands, to first of all cancel the titles that were given to that the lake area. Then number two is that working with Danida, we have resources that we've just received of about 2 billion shillings, where we will now restore the catchment upstream, making sure that we plant trees, we plant bamboos and all that to ensure that that lake is restored. And I think if you've seen, it has started collecting some water. So in the next year, you will see a lot of work. All the thing we're asking is that, please, if there are people you know who are there, waambie watoke. Because hiyo ni shamba ya serikali ya protect where the sources of water of Ewasonyiro comes from, and the people of Nyandarua. Finally, on Itare Dam, we are on course. I think you know the circumstances that made that project to be stalled. We have now completed the negotiation with the contractor who to remove the case out of court. We've agreed on the balance of works, the costing. We are now negotiating with the Italian government to fund the project. And the initial 50 billion is 5 billion is accessible so that the contractor can move back to site early next year. So Itare is coming back. So with those many remarks, and on behalf of the sector chair, first I want to thank all of us for being with us in this session. Thank you for your very good comments and very good suggestions to improve the planning within the sector. We appreciate each one of you. It's only that we didn't have enough time, but I think hopefully the sector convener next time maybe tupatiwe muda mrefu. Unajua maji na climate inaitwa tabia, what do you say, climate, yeah? Tabia inchi, environment. If the environment is not well, we will not be comfortable. You need water, you need the environment, you need the trees, you need the forest, so that we can be comfortable as human beings. So this sector is very important, and we really want to appreciate all of you for coming in here to give us suggestions on how to improve the sector. Thank you. God bless you. Maybe convener, if there is any housekeeping, and maybe the memorandas, we will come down there with the chair so that we can hand over to him. Karibu. Thanks.
Thank you so much, PS Session Chair and Sector Chair, and the representative from the various state departments. Can we appreciate them? So the memorandum, if you have anything, a memorandum you want to present, you can give to us. Even if it's handwritten, we have a secretariat here, which will pick those pieces of papers. We also, you can send the memorandum on the to Treasury, and we'll also pick them. If you do not know where to place them, you can still come to 13th floor, Treasury building, we'll get those memorandum. We want to stop here. Then those of us wanted to have memorandum delivered to the PS and take photos, you are allowed. We can now break and take tea so that we allow the next session, which is coming. We have already taken into their time, so we can stop at this point. Thank you so much, PSS.